Yeah, that would be great. Let me stop sharing here.
Oh, you didn't create the slide deck? It's not, you didn't bring it with you? Just kidding.
Bye, Max.
I think I had her stumped there for a second.
You're making her nervous for a second, Max.
I know
I
you
love it.
too well, Max. I didn't even flinch.
I know, you're great. You are great. Well, welcome everyone. I really appreciate you spending the time with us today. I'm hopeful. I want to just go over a couple of brief items, and Paula, help calibrate me here. I was going to do a little bit of an introduction to I-Core as well, just to make sure everybody's calibrated accordingly. In case there's an interest in engaging in the program. And then what I wanted to do is do what I'll consider like a deep dive into how I like to use LinkedIn to help identify and understand your broader stakeholder ecosystem as you're thinking about potential commercialization pathways, um, or perhaps Matthew, in terms of like your students, an opportunity to learn how people classify themselves, maybe join some groups, with similar experiences and interests, and we can use that in different ways to kind of compartmentalize and leverage these opportunities in different ways. So hopefully this is going to be helpful to you guys, in helping support your overall outcomes that you're looking to engage in. And of course, glad to open it up for Q&A, and answer any questions you may have about other specific research activities. Okay, so let me introduce myself real quick first. So my name is Max Green. I'm a mechanical engineer by training, and have been in the innovation management or slash commercialization space for the better part of the last 20 years. I actually started this part of my career at NASA. So you see a picture of me. I was actually got an opportunity to sit in the cockpit of the Discovery shuttle, which was really fascinating. I don't really have a picture of it, but one of my favorite parts is actually get to climb around on the engines in the back of it, which was phenomenal. So long story short, I have a semiconductor background. I started my professional career at Applied Materials. And then I built Ratio Flex, which I've been working for the past approximately, I think it's roughly like 8 years now, to help support the National Science Foundation's I-Core programs, and using a lot of those methodologies to support what's called the Global Innovation Science and Technology Groups out of the Department of State to deploy a lot of these processes across the world, right? So I've been to places like Turkey and Portugal, Colombia, spent a lot of time in Colombia and Turkey, Mexico, Spain, et cetera, right? And then took those skill sets and actually moved them into helping support the Department of Energy's Energy I-Core programs, and building more and more programs using these methodologies to help support the all of the SBIR community on that side of the world as well. So have a lot of experience in this. I showed this picture of me, swimming through the mud. If any of you guys are familiar with like Tough Mudders, just simply to highlight the fact that I like to get my hands dirty. Like I like to, I enjoy, kind of like getting in the middle of this stuff and doing the work. So hopefully this is helpful for you to kind of get a sense of, what the interaction is going to look like today. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't highlight my beautiful wife and son. And man, he's growing up really quick. So he's now 12 years old, and that's super exciting part of our life. Now, speaking to my engineering background, and so Malika, I hope this resonates with you. You see this phase diagram in the upper right-hand corner. This is so for any of you that are familiar with material science, this is my passion. That's actually a phase diagram that I helped create, which is the interaction of aluminum and H13 tool steels whenever I was working with the Institute for Advanced Technologies, helping to explore interactions of these different metals for railgun applications. So that was a really cool experience early in my career. So, okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Great Plains Hub. This is a collaborative effort across a lot of different organizations in your region. And so this is why we're here today, right? Is to really talk about how do we accelerate innovation in this space, and leveraging LinkedIn to help drive more and more opportunities through everything that you guys are working towards. So really happy that this collaboration is happening. This was a void, from National Science Foundation perspective, a void in kind of like the innovation space across the U.S. So the fact that we have the opportunity to build this together is extremely fascinating. Okay, so what is it? What is I-Corps? I think you guys have probably heard this before, but I want to emphasize just a little bit more detail around this and kind of build us towards what I'm looking at for the LinkedIn exercises. Okay, so it's a program designed by NSF to really focus on the economic impact of the research that you're conducting. So Malika, the work that you're doing, trying to figure out, how is this going to actually generate an opportunity or change someone's life in terms of what you could deliver from the research that you're conducting. And the fun thing about I-Corps is that it's actually really experiential, right? It's an opportunity to get out of the laboratory, go learn about the broader stakeholder ecosystem, get a sense of their fundamental needs, et cetera, so that you can begin to get a sense of, if we were to build a solution, if we were to design something that we wanted to go and work with them on, what would it look like? What would we need to do to be able to support them? And that's really the intention of the program. So we ask the teams that come into I-Corps to follow a process called customer discovery, where we focus really to dig down on what are those fundamental needs, what are the things that are influencing adoption, and ultimately what motivates a buying decision from those organizations, right? Who are the people within it that are actually making decisions, and how do they make those decisions in those businesses? So we use a lot of workshops where we introduce the process elements that we like to follow, and we practice what we like to call a little bit of intellectual honesty, where we hold ourselves accountable to the information and the biases that we're applying to our knowledge base. And then we ask you to go and do the work, right? So that's really where this is different than most programs, because this is not an academic exercise from the perspective of we're going to take a best guess at this. We're actually going to go validate some of these things. So this is where kind of getting into LinkedIn and being able to try and figure out how do we leverage all of these tools available to us, help support you in being able to build these process elements and evolve the business model as you're going forward. So a little bit about the outcomes of I-Corps. Really, the goal here is to determine if this is a business worth pursuing, and pulling all of these different pieces I have listed here to inform that. Everything from understanding how it's done today, understanding the value we would create for potential stakeholders if we were to implement our solution, and then determining how do we get there, right? Is it to build a new company? Is it to license into an existing value chain within those organizations that are already operating in that space? Or is it something else? And so what we try to do is take all of these interviews that you're going to go out and conduct and learn from, build a body of evidence to really try to refine and strengthen your business model to increase your chances for funding and for growth, right? So that's really what we're trying to provide support for, so that you have good foundations and motivations for these things. So I want to talk a little bit about I want to change the narrative ever so slightly and talk about how when you're going through something like I-Corps, how I like to call it the journeyman, engagement, right? So this really is a model that helps to show, how we operate, right? So if I could, at a high level, I would say that our expectation from an instructor or coach side of this is that we want you to learn directly from your customers, right? And that the reality here is that you're going to own the outcomes, right? So you are responsible for the engagements, the interactions, going out. Malika, so to your point earlier, how do I go find people? Right? How do I go explore that? What does that look like? You're going to own those outcomes. We're going to give you the tool sets, teach you how to do it, but really only you can own the outcomes associated with that. The work that you're actually going to put into this is going out, learning how your customers operate, evaluating what their needs are, and then, similar to why we're here today, building a network of stakeholders and customers that you can lean into in the future years. And that's what makes us really powerful. So kind of leading us forward, this is why we focus on customer discovery, right? So this is from our perspective, what we call a fundamental direction in terms of trying to use an experiential approach to guide explaining the unknown. There's a lot of questions in terms of trying to look at market opportunities and evaluate stakeholders and expectations and how they make decisions. And so we put a process in place to really inform what that looks like. So this is going to say, we're not trying to impose our belief structures. We're trying to listen and observe and learn from our customers so that we can inform a correct approach. And I know this is going to sound a little bit this might be a little bit advanced for kind of what we're talking about today. But if you think about if any of you are familiar with the business model canvas and you start to think about, why we do what we do, what we're really trying to inform is, is there a desirable opportunity? In other words, can we connect a customer to a potential value proposition that we can deliver, right? And then determine, can we actually build it? Like, what are the key activities, the key resources, and the potential partnerships that we need to be able to build and deliver that solution to those customers? And ultimately, can we actually generate enough revenue that will offset our cost and help us support a viable and scalable business model? And that's really what we're looking for. We're trying to inform all of these different pieces. There's a lot of sophistication here, a lot of complexity. Don't want to overwhelm you, but I just want to give you a sense of why we do what we do. So all of this starts with a customer, right? And at the end of the day, the reason you're here on this call with me now is to highlight, how do we find these people, right? What do we do to go and think about, Max says, hey, there's a customer out there. We have a belief of why we want to, build a solution. So now we got to attach them to the people. We got to start thinking about who are the different people that are related to this, who is involved in this in some way, and then work to go and try to, explore how to find those people. So there's a lot of way to do this. There's definitely no what I'll call like easy shot on any of these targets, right? And so I'll just throw these out here just for you to read through real quickly. What we're going to talk about in detail is going to be LinkedIn. Okay, so we're going to highlight how to use this and leverage this for your own discovery work, both for either developing professional connections and building your own network, or specifically for targeting for customer discovery, right? So there's a lot of ways to leverage this in different aspects and get different value from this. It's up to you how you want to effectively, I don't want to say monetize because it's not necessarily that type of value, but how you want to leverage it so that you can create an opportunity for yourself. I guess maybe I'll stop there and ask Amy or anyone. Is there any other comments you want to make about this that I'm missing before I jump into maybe an exercise around using LinkedIn?
Yeah, Max, I think you hit all of the high points really well. And what I think I would add there is this is an opportunity for you to build skills to, yes, build your professional network, but think about how we create conversations that understands both what's happening in someone's world and thinking about where's that intersection of, can we help solve a challenge that we are here is going on. So it's about thinking about sometimes hearing what is going on outside of our classrooms and our labs so that we can get a better feel for what's happening in the world around us. And this is an opportunity for us to think about, where do we situate within the lived experience of the world outside of what we live in every day at our universities.
Love it, love it. And by the way, for anyone who's here, so I'm probably gonna pronounce your name incorrectly, Victor Akindele, as well as Fadluhai. If you guys have anything that you want to talk through or have us specifically to do some research around, feel free to throw it into chat, right? So again, questions are all welcome. We'd love to support you guys and make sure that you are getting the most out of this as possible. So let's embrace our inner sleuth. Okay, so this is an opportunity to have some fun with LinkedIn. I want to take one example. I don't know if Malika, if you would be interested in offering your perspective here, and maybe we can use your example to walk through how to do this search logic. I want to share with you a few things of how this might be really helpful to each of you. So Malika, can you come off of mute real quick? Let's see, make sure I save this. Malika, are you there?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
here.
Hey,
And
fantastic. Okay, let me get my system set up real quick. Okay. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen real fast. And I'm going to shrink my screen just a little bit, just so that it's easier on your eyes while I'm sharing here, okay? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, and so Malika, stay off of mute real quick, because I want to get your feedback on all of this, okay? And we're going to use this in real time to just share some examples. What I want to highlight first for each of you, and this is really important for you to understand, is that LinkedIn is, it has multiple modalities. There's different value elements that you can extract from this. Okay. First and foremost, what you'll notice is that it starts as a social platform, right? That's really how it, begins to to engage and operate. And you'll notice whenever I first log in, it goes, my homepage is all of my feed from the different stories and different things that people are posting, et cetera. You'll notice that some of my colleagues, Katie Wasslager, for example, she works at NREL. She's one of the innovation managers there. We just launched a recent cohort, and so you kind of see what she's posting here, right? Of course, you get some advertisements and other elements as well. Phil Wallerstein, which is the CEO of a group called VentureWell, which supports our innovation ecosystem, and others that continue to post and have different engagements, right? And this gives you the opportunity to, acknowledge people. It's a little bit like if you're familiar with Facebook or any other type of a platform like this, gives you the ability to interact and add commentary, things of that sort. I'll be honest, there's only a subset of people that actively use this in a productive way. I'm not one of them. Okay, so I'm not one to generally use this aspect of it. I'm trying to get better, right? But I think it's something as a young audience that you're trying to develop your career and move that forward. That's something that you can leverage in a really positive way, especially if you're looking to interact and engage with different parts of the stakeholder ecosystem that can help inform your own professional development or career or other aspects that you're interested in professionally. So the one thing I will note about this is it's not a social platform where it's personal. This is professional. Okay. So let me go back up to the top real quick. So the next side of this is going to be your network, right? And so you can jump into here and you can see how if I click on my network, I've had a couple of invites recently. I just accepted about 15 of them this morning, but I wanted to show you this one specifically. This gentleman has reached out to me, and he's a founder of a new company working on nuclear energy technologies. I'm trying to see if I can see. Oh, there we go. And you can see what he wrote to me, right? So he said, "Hey Max, I'm connecting. Just met with Glenn Watson, who's another connection of mine. Would love to meet with you, et cetera." Right? And you can see I also have some mutual connections with him. So it kind of gives me a sense of who this gentleman is, right? And I think that's a good example of kind of what you're looking for from people. And it also gives us a good example of what we should expect of ourselves as we're starting to want to connect with people as well. So I just want to start there because what we really want to drill into is getting a sense of what does our network look like, right? And you can start to see, I only have 2,500 connections or so. I should have many more than that, but I don't manage this as well as I probably should. And you can see that most of these are like postdocs, other technical application people that are in the commercialization world, people that are CEOs or founders of early stage businesses, things of that sort, because that's mostly the interactions that I have. But this gives you an ability to really quickly kind of identify who you're connected with and how to manage that. Now, what I wanted to do, Malika, is I wanted to come back to your opportunity and say, this is kind of the foundation. Now, how do we use it to our advantage, right? So how do we use these different, kind of like profiles? Like if I look at Dan Levy, for example, he's the vice president and founder of AECOM, which is a really big engineering consulting firm, right? And so just by way of example, I can look at his profile. I can go to his about section and I can see all of this, I can read all of this. Wow, he's into algae harvesting and he has experience in strategic planning and alternative energies, even ports and harbors. Okay, so I'm curious like how these all pair together and how they relate to one another. So I'm trying to get a sense of, who he is, and that's how I can start to use this to my advantage. Interestingly enough, you can see that I usually don't follow the activity as much. It can be very valuable, but it's something that I don't spend a lot of time on typically. I love looking at their experience, so like where they've worked, what their different roles were, et cetera. And we're gonna use this for you in just a second, Malika, where we say like, oh wow, he started as a hydrogeologist, right? So I'm curious like how that propagated forward into other parts of his career and kind of what he uses that for, et cetera. And so those are the important parts that I'm looking for, just to kind of get a sense of how he defines himself, what the roles are that he kind of associates with, et cetera. So let's get into the commercial side of this, because I know you're interested in kind of exploring that. I just want to kind of give that as a little bit of a background first, just to kind of set the stage. So Malika, tell me real quickly, what is it that you are working on? What's the new innovation that you and your brother had developed that you want to commercialize?
Uh, we are intending to work on an educational platform, and regarding the technical aspect of it, my brother will be more specialized. I'm
Well, it's okay. We don't have to be technical. So it's an educational platform, and
yeah.
who would actually use that? Who would use that educational platform?
The target or the customer of our platform will be mostly students or all the people who are using the educational platforms like Coursera, Udemy, YouTube. But the main focus is people who are trying to learn a new skill or new topic
Oh, wonderful.
through online platforms.
Okay, so a quick question, and this is where this gets fun, right? Is because we have to really be clear on who we're trying to target, because I know you have some beliefs about this, right? So
Yes.
first and foremost, are we talking about educational platforms for online learning for kindergartners, or are we talking about high school, or is it college, or is it even, or are we looking at professionals? Like, at what level are we thinking that we might be operating?
We are looking at a college student and professional.
Okay, so let's imagine for a second that we're looking at college students. Okay, who would be let's imagine who would be targeting to actually buy this platform or get access to the platform? Who do you think would be responsible for that?
Who will the responsibility of the platform? You mean who will use the platform?
Well, so who's responsible
Again?
for actually agreeing that they would use the platform? So is it the students themselves that are going to go find this, or is it a faculty member at a university, or
Not the faculty member, the students themselves.
Okay, so the students are already taking classes, and then you're expecting that they're going to go to a different platform to go and learn new things. Is that correct?
Yes, because based on our experience, not all the topics or skills are taught at universities. Sometimes myself, I should go through YouTube, should go through thousands of videos in Coursera, Udemy to gain a deeper foundation of what a professor is teaching at the classroom. So sometimes within 6 months or 4 months of a semester is not enough to learn, for instance, Python or programming. So before that, I have before the starting of the semester, during the winter break or summer break, I should have a platform
that's
for
fine.
myself.
No, I understand. So you're targeting the student side of this.
Yes.
I think it does make it harder for the search because we're not like trying to, I mean, we're looking at everybody that's in education effectively, which makes it difficult to try and find specific types of people, right? So I'm not sure if LinkedIn's going to be the real advantage that I was hoping it would. If we were thinking about professionals for a second, I'm just going to bridge these together. Is there a professional group that you think you would target before anyone else? Like, I mean, is it certain types of engineers, or are they maybe architects, or like what would be the different roles of someone that you might want to look for that would be interested in using these types of platforms?
We haven't defined a professional customer
Okay.
for it as per my knowledge, but I can imagine or I can share an example. For instance, we'll target the architects.
Okay, architects. So let's look at architects. I want to see, you know, we can't just search for architects, because if we do that, watch what we're going to get, right? So we can actually, or actually, I'm going to say architect. Sorry. So if I search for architects, I'm going to get a really big list of people. So the first thing that you'll notice when you start to search is that you have all of these different filters across the top. You see where I'm clicking on here. And so if I look at the people, watch what it's going to show me. Look, I have 5.35 million, right? It's going to be a lot of people. And so what I'm trying to imagine whenever I'm starting to think about using this platform is I'm trying to think of how do I narrow down to where I can start to contact people and get reasonable about building my network and finding the people that are focused. I have an idea for you in a minute, but I want to drill on this just for a second, just to give us a sense of how to use the platform. And then we can come back to probably a better idea for your specific use case on how to use LinkedIn in a slightly different way. So first and foremost, I think what I want to do is I want to narrow the scope. So let's imagine for a second that we wanted to target architects or maybe architectural entities that were responsible for the development, professional development of their organization, right? So it's not just the architect themselves; it's someone else within the organization that cares about their education. So I'm going to go to architect education. Let's see how else to search this. Let's just do that. Let's just do architect education. See, so we're getting a little bit smaller. So if you look at this gentleman here, Adam B, the first one that came up, education thought leader and curriculum architect. Oh, so he's an architect of curriculum, so he's not an architect per se. Now here's an AI systems architect. So let's see, architectural engineer. Maybe education. Let's do that. Oh, sorry, I misspelled it. Okay, so let's go to Fatima, right? So she is an architectural engineer and is focused on engineering education. Wow, she has two different skill sets, which kind of match over exactly what we're targeting, right? So it might be someone like this. So she doesn't have a lot of connections, right? There's not much here. She's either currently with or has experience at the University of Cincinnati. And she's an architect at a company called Stroud Homes. So by way of example, what I'd be looking for here is say, hey, maybe a company like Stroud Homes who has multiple architects could leverage a platform like what we want to develop. And that might be a good starting point, especially with someone who has an interest in engineering education, okay? There might be an overlap in terms of what we're trying to search. So I'm already beginning to kind of streamline my thought process around I have architectural engineers and other aspects around what that really entails. So if we go back here real quick, and by the way, Malika, let me know if you see someone here that resonates with you. So we have Mia Hoff, she's a student. So she's actively engaged in architectural engineering. So to your point earlier on the student side, maybe this is someone who is, could at least give you some perspective and engagement around, hey, this is how I think about this as an architectural student, right? This is the thing. These are the gaps that I've identified in my learning capabilities, and these are the things that I want to try and address that the school doesn't offer to me, right? And so, if you're trying to learn about what the unmet need is, and understanding from the perspective of their engagement, what else that they could leverage, this might be a way to embrace that. Let's see. She's also part of EEA, which is a consulting engineering group, it looks like. So that might be a really interesting place to do a deep dive also. One of the things that where my mind was originally going is I was trying to think if we have architectural engineers, let's do, instead of education, let's do consultants. What I want to do is I want to try to find an organization, right? A company. And this will be a way to help everyone kind of get a sense of, if you're using this process, how do you branch that out? Let's go to this one. This Deborah looks like she knows a couple of really, so if any of you know Babu Dasgupta, he's one of our I-Corps. Errol Arklick is actually what I would like to call the grandfather of I-Corps. He went to Steve Blank and helped build I-Corps originally. So Deborah, let's see, she's an engineering services consultant. Let's see what company she works with. Maybe she might be she's self-employed, retired, used to be at JPL. Interesting. I'm not sure if Rand Corporation is the right place to be, but I want to go and look at this a little bit. So what I want to show you is that there are different rabbit holes that you can go down to explore various contexts and kind of get different perspectives around who's operating in these spaces, right? So this might be an example, Malika, where you come in and say, now this is obviously policy and decision-making, slightly different than your focus area. But if I was to do a deep dive here, I would come into this. This is what we'd call a company page, specifically for Rand Corporation. and learn a little bit about them, right? So this is a nonprofit institution. They work on, it looks like a think tank of some sort. And I'm curious how large it is, right? So let me see if I can find how many people, or yeah, let's see how many people work there, right? So I'm going to click on the people and look at that. I have 2,900 potential connections back to this organization. So if I'm thinking about education models and things that might matter to them, the question becomes, is this significant enough, right? Is this a group that we might want to do a deeper dive on? Go find the different people who we might be connected to, or that might have connections that we can connect to, and help support some type of engagement there. Now, I'm going to back up just a second because I do want to share something here that I think is important for the audience at large. One of the fun, so you heard me mention Babu Dasgupta and Errol Arklick right here in my mutual connections. One of the fun things about LinkedIn is leapfrogging to other people, right? So for example, I find Deborah, I'm learning about engineering consultants, I'm learning about her experience, et cetera. If I wanted to connect with her, what I would do is I would probably go to one of these mutual connections. And Crystal Leach she used to be a program director at NSF as well. You know, I would probably go to Crystal Leach and I would message her and I would say, "Dear Crystal, I just noticed that you're connected with Deborah. I would love to get an introduction for her if that's possible. Here's what I'm looking to learn, et cetera." Right? Like give her the opportunity to connect us, give her a little bit of information about what I'm looking for, and support her in that outreach. And then and hopefully to make that connection, right? So to leverage that up. So that's a good way that's one of the most powerful elements of LinkedIn to begin with. Let's imagine that I don't have any connections, right? No mutual connections to Deborah. I can hit this connect. Well, actually, I'm gonna not hit that just in case it takes me to a different place. What I want to do, well, I guess I have to. I was trying to think if sometimes I accidentally click that button, it will actually make a connection directly. So it'll actually send an invite. What I want to do is I want to add some context. So I want to add this note, right? I definitely don't want to send without a note. If you're looking to connect with folks, adding a note really strengthens your opportunity to connect with people. So take that engagement. Now you're only limited to 200 words. You can get premium, LinkedIn Premium, which actually allows you to get a little bit deeper. I don't think you really need to over amplify those types of things. But this is just how to use LinkedIn, how to leverage it to connect with folks to begin with. So hopefully that's helpful, at least to make those connections. The other thing I wanted to highlight, Malika, is I'm going to go to education. And are you a video platform? Do you use videos, or what type of learning platform is it?
Yes, video platform.
Video platform. Okay. I'm just gonna do education video. I'm gonna leave platform out of it. So the thing that I wanted to do is I want to circle back, kind of more holistically in terms of how you can use this just from searching, for other things. So it's not just about people, right? Well, it really is. It starts with people, but then they kind of aggregate, right? I want to talk about groups. So you see this right here where I highlight the group section. So you can go to groups and you can go to, usually you can find some really interesting things. Oh, it's interesting that they went to forensic I'm not sure exactly what that is. So you'll notice that several of these don't have very many members, right? Like something like this, like Video Creation Education Network, 6 members, probably not a good hit. Somebody created something, didn't really advertise it, or doesn't keep it, active, et cetera. So it's not really a good place to go to. But if you look at this first one, Higher Education Video Professionals, now that looks like it's not what we're interested in, but it is an area which I believe probably is relevant to you, right? So let's go here real quick. This is what's called a group within LinkedIn. So you can see they have 3,300 members. Okay, these are people that are actively involved in this group. And then I can kind of do a deeper dive on the description here. Let's see, working in any aspect of television and video production in higher education. This is both faculty, staff, teaching, distribution of video, et cetera. So it looks like the group may include people that are relevant to you and interesting to you. So it's an opportunity to maybe reach out to folks and learn more. Now, the way that I like to leverage this more than anything, so one of the things I would avoid is just simply joining it and then forgetting about it, right? What I would do is maybe request to join, but then I would go to one of these admins, one of the people who own or manage that group, and reach out to Sharon or Timothy and say, hey, I'm a student at such and such university. I'm interested in learning a little bit more about this group. We're actively evaluating opportunities around these types of challenges in education, right? So again, focusing on the problem statement of what you're trying to develop within the education world, and say, I would love to reach out to some of the members of this group and learn more from them about, what's happening in with both the at the intersection of video and education, and whether or not they'd be willing to have a conversation with me, because I bet that there's people here that are extremely relevant to everything that you're doing. So just by way of an example, once you get in the group, you can actually see, so like, for example, if I go to here, this is the Energy iCore group, I can actually see all of the members that are within this, right? So I can come here and I can actually look at all of these different people, and I can determine who's first and second level connections, et cetera, and be able to do outreach to them and things of that sort, which is really, really productive in terms of an outreach and engagement element. So you can use the group to help leverage and kind of almost leapfrog into all of these connections. Does that make sense, Malika?
Yes, Max, thanks for your clarification and all the description. That was really insightful and that makes sense for me.
Great, wonderful. Okay, so I think that's about all I wanted to show. Let me actually, you know what, there is one more thing. If you are willing to be a super sleuth and you really want to do a deep dive, and you really want to learn things, especially from a discovery perspective. I'm not sure exactly how relevant this would be for everyone on the call, but from a discovery perspective and learning about how companies operate, how they make decisions, what problems they're actively trying to address, et cetera. I oftentimes will go into a slightly different direction. I'll look at the companies, and then I'll actually do, kind of like, filter these out and actually look at, if I go to, actually, let me go to people first. So let's go to the people. I'm going to find a person real fast, or actually I'm going to go to filters from the people side. I'm going to look at past companies. So for example, I want to know people that used to work at Amazon, by way of example, since they have video platforms as well, right? And see how many people within this space. So just whenever I search education videos, okay, and I look at people and I say they used to work at Amazon. They don't anymore, right? They used to. I can go find all of these different folks. So this person's at Wolfram. Oh, that's fantastic, right? This is a manufacturing program. This one's a new founder of a company, ex-Army Special Forces, ex-Amazon. So, again, you're finding people that used to be involved in that space that are using and leveraging that experience into another application. And guess what? They love to talk, right? They love to talk about their experiences at Amazon, and you might be able to open up new information that you never thought possible, right? So just a good way to, kind of leverage the program for your own benefit. Okay, Paula, I am going to stop my sharing there and ask if there's any questions from our audience.
I actually had a question. Can
Yes,
you
ma'am.
explain the difference between a first, second, and third degree connection?
Oh, yeah.
On
Here, let me
LinkedIn?
share my screen again. Yeah, I'm sorry that I even missed that. Okay, so for example, I was trying to highlight this whenever I mentioned that I could leverage my existing network to connect to, I think it was Barbara, if I remember her name correctly. And so what I'm looking at here, if you've seen the people that I've highlighted, Rory is a third level connection, right? Bernard is a second level connection. What that means is that there is one person that I know, or there are people that I know that I'm connected with that are actually connected with Bernard. That makes him a second level connection. The first level connections are all of the people I've already connected with on LinkedIn. So I already am directly connected with those folks, and those are my network, right? Second level is I'm one person removed from them. And so what I can do, if you look here, say I can look at Bernard Mendez and say, I have 12 other connections that he is also connected with, which gives me an advantage to be able to connect with him, right? So there's a synergy and interaction that we can enable that makes it a little bit easier. The third level connections are a little bit harder, right? So for example, Samer is a third level connection. He's data science at DoorDash. That's interesting. And it makes it more challenging to actually connect with those folks because we don't have anyone in common. So normally what I would do there is I would come here and I would say, hey, I'm going to add a note try to connect with them differently, and present them with kind of my justification, et cetera. But that's how I would leverage that. So first level is my connections. Second level, we're one person removed from each other. And third level is I don't know anyone that even knows them, right? So we're really trying to build up from the ground up from that perspective. Does that help?
Yeah, thanks for explaining
Okay,
that.
sure. Any other questions? Amy, I see your message, not tracking 100%. You want to jump on?
Yeah, so one thought I had for Malika, if, in the ed tech space, if you're trying to make connections or understand opportunities in that space, sometimes a career services office or an experiential learning office may use a platform to help students either make connections or build their skills. So just thinking maybe there might be something there as a way for us to understand how are they working with college students to think about where what they're studying aligns.
I thought that Malika was going to drive there at the first, as opposed to the students themselves. If there was like a connection point. Yeah, it's a great point. I didn't want to manipulate this in any way or bias it. But I think you're onto something there in terms of like, if students, and I think what you're trying to learn is, do students react because they get, informed by certain bodies, or they influenced in some way that helps drive them towards where they go and learn about things. Yep.
Yeah, so the thought process there for me would be, and maybe this is a question I could, Malika, something to think about as you would say, have conversation, is asking students, where do they find out about information? Where do they learn about the professions? If you're studying architecture, where do you go learn about how that profession, where do they build those skills? Where do they create those networks? Or how do you get some of that training? And understanding how some of the professionals who are guiding those students, understanding their lived experience and how they're guiding those students can be helpful as you continue to think about where would your solution fit in that process of using technology to help students with that process.
Yes, that's true.
Michelle, I was wondering if you could come on for just a second and explain a little bit about at NDSU how we use LinkedIn Premium and what we offer for students that go through that program.
Yeah, so if you participate in I-Corps actually at NDSU, and other I-Corps sites are starting to do this too, but if you sign up as a participant and you want to use LinkedIn, we actually offer not only like LinkedIn Premium, but it's like a step above Premium, which Premium is good. Like you can pay for that for like so many dollars a month and get benefits, but Sales Navigator is like the step above Premium. So Sales Navigator actually opens up, I mean, even Premium and the free version of LinkedIn are good, but you are only connected to your network involves that third degree of connection. Whereas Sales Navigator actually taps you into the entire LinkedIn network, like people who you aren't even connected with, you can kind of get into their profiles and see. And Premium and the free version, you can only do so many like cold messages to people before it kind of taps you out and says, okay, you've hit your maximum this month, you got to wait till next month. Well, Sales Navigator allows that too, but it's a larger number. I think you get like 50 cold messages and you can see, so many people's profiles that you don't normally get to see on just your normal LinkedIn account. So a benefit of becoming an I-Corps participant is just getting access to that LinkedIn network while you're at least in I-Corps. So.
And maybe if you could put your email in the chat too, if anyone has any questions about that, they can reach out to you.
Absolutely. And, I-Corps offers just a lot in terms of participant support. We want to see people be successful in I-Corps. So if you think like, oh, this is a good way to, I might be able to get involved with I-Corps, like we want to see you there and we want to see you like learn a lot and be successful. So we're going to try to give you all the resources we can to help you. through that program. And then I guess, sorry, I am the project coordinator. So I usually meet with participants as they come into the program if they're from NDSU and let them know about all these opportunities and like how to maximize them. And usually I'll take them through like a sales navigator demo, not quite as good as Max's, but yeah, show them it's a little bit different interface, but you can, yeah, I'll meet with everybody individually on that.
Awesome. Do we have any other questions at all?
Quiet group. Matthew, any questions for your students or things that you think would be helpful for them?
No, sorry, I was just getting ready for another meeting.
Okay.
It's all very useful, and it's something that I wish more students had been here in attendance, because this is something that they're very eager to learn about. So I'm glad that Malika, you're taking advantage of these opportunities to see this. My question would be, when can we make the recording available? Because I think I have literally received 2 emails over the course of this presentation about, is that being recorded?
It is being recorded. I can send you the recording link after this or once it's
Okay.
uploaded.
Yeah, because for me, it's largely helping graduate students make a transition from realizing that this is a necessary step for them to continue making progress within the professional world, which is why I really want them to be engaged with I-Corps and similar programs so that they can start to make that transition. We deliver quite a few individual development planning sessions where students will learn that, oh my gosh, I might be involved with sales. How does a graduate student get involved with sales? Why are so many of them involved with sales? And it's, yeah, you are. And unfortunately, I can't really help you go too much further. However, we have these excellent programs that are available for you. But it's really aligned with the interests that graduate students have been reporting to me. So thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Max, for all your information, and I'll try to apply what you mentioned today in our session. And in case of any questions, I will be in contact with you and any other I-Corps members. But I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Malika.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day, all of
Thanks, everyone.